Right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, everybody. Right. Before I start with the painting, we're going to recap a bit what we discussed about composition. And in particular, well, we'll go through it in turn just to remind ourselves. Remember, all these rules are made to be broken. They are useful when you are beginning. And once you get to be Monet, you can do what the heck you like, right? So generally speaking, to make a good composition, you should try to put your focus on one of the thirds of the picture. So either a third in from this side, or a third in from that side, or a third down from the top, or a third up from the bottom. Generally speaking, it's best not to get your horizon in the middle of the picture. It is slightly up from middle there, but I don't think it matters much because there's so much else going on. Right, so either there, or along there somewhere, or along there. The sweet spots are where the thirds cross. So there, here, and there. Sometimes you find you created a picture where you've got two foci, which I have here. There's that there, there's that there. And they're both pretty strong, pretty dominant. So I've either got to big him up or carve him down, and probably the same with that one. I don't know if I'll even get there today. Right. Now, the other thing that we discussed was giving, if you have something that's moving, put it in your picture in such a way that it's got room to move into the picture. So instead of putting a bloke here walking out, if you put the bloke in walking in, so much the better. If you've got a boat, it's better if it's sailing that way from this side or that way from this side. Take care that the lines and angles of things you put in help your picture. For instance, if I was going to put a canoe in here, the sensible thing would be to make it point that way rather than that way, because that takes your eye right out the picture, whereas that takes you into the picture. You want to keep people's eye within your picture. When they do that, they can look around the picture and follow the story that you've created. Whereas if you take them out by a line or a person going out, they'll just walk on because they're out. You know, you've just taken them out of the picture. I try to make the shapes at the edge go either level or up, if it's all possible. It's a personal quirk. I just feel if you have a sad mountain here dropping off, it's not really helping. The other thing is, if you have straight lines across your picture, as I have there, do try and cut it. In this case, it's cut by this tree and these bushes and that tree and that tree. So that line doesn't dominate. It's quite a good thing to have the line there, but you don't want it to take over the whole picture. The thing I want to talk about this morning particularly is color. And you've all recognized this, I'm sure. We'll put it the way everybody normally sees it, with the red upwards. This is the color wheel. Very, very simple color wheel. We've got the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, called primary because you can't make them out of anything else. And then we have the secondary colors, purple, orange, and green, because sometimes with the right red and blue, you get purple. Sometimes with the right red and yellow, you get orange. And sometimes with the right yellow and blue, you get green, but not always. But it's a basic rule that most people accept and understand. Now, when you're creating your picture, you want to think of the mood that you're going to create in your picture. If you want it sort of elegiac and quiet and thoughtful, then you will tend to go towards these colors down here. Not that yellow, but a yellow, greeny, bluey, purpley sort of colors are nice. And they work well together because they're next to each other on this color wheel. If you want to make your picture wildly exciting, the thing to do is to dominate with colors opposite each other in the color wheel. Now, red doesn't have to be red like that. It can be an alizarin red, It can be burnt sienna, which is a browny red. And the same with the green. It doesn't have to be that green. It could be olive green. It could be very pale gray green. It just depends on how your colors play. But basically, greens tend to make reds exciting, blues tend to make oranges exciting, and purples tend to make yellows exciting, and vice versa. If you're in a very hot country, it sometimes helps to paint your shadows using a purple tone. As I say, not necessarily that one, but in the purple family, because that's quite a warm color. If you have warm shadows and bright light, you're going to have a really hot picture, aren't you? It's going to feel, even the shadows aren't cool. Whereas if you're in the Arctic and you want it cool, then of course the purples, the blues and the greens in the shadows will help to, in contrast with the white, will make it really cool, because these are cooler colors. Right. So let's look at this picture and see what I've done. So I've got greens and in effect reds here, because these are reddy browns and these are sort of yellowy greens, so they are making each other more interesting. I wonder how to, if I take that out, this tree just loses some of its impact. And if I take that out, again, it's just a bit sort of sad by itself. And the other thing is that blue in the sky with these orangey browns also makes for a more interesting and lively picture. I wanted to suggest the idea of a bright day, but not full sunshine, so to speak. So that's why we've got some clouds in the sky. Well, I hope that was clear. And I hope I was teaching my grandmother to suck eggs. Well, of course you can. Yeah. Yeah. Did you not see it? Well, no, it's not unusual. This is actually more dominant anyway. It is a bit more dominant than that. I could soften that off, or I can make this really blaze with contrast, which might be enough for what I want to do. Because this bottom half isn't remotely finished. I don't even know if I'll finish it today. And if I carry on talking, I certainly won't. Okay, right. So what I would like to do is bring some of these yellowy greens down into the foreground in some way. Now, this is a lake. I do remember a bit of a sort of sandy shore, but I think I've got green stuff growing here, maybe. Maybe that would help. And it would balance by pulling your eye over here. I feel it would sort of help to balance the picture a bit. So that's one thing I've got to play with. And when I look at this sketch that I did all those years ago, I made quite a thing out of this row of little rocks leading up to the big one. And I think that makes quite a nice shape, because it joins the tree. That shape joins the tree, and those forms there are quite interesting. So you get this journey through the picture I'm always talking about. So down here, along there, that sends you up, this sends you across, and off you go, looking around the picture. I'm not letting you escape. Something has got to happen over here. Je ne sais pas. However, we'll find something. And the other thing is, when you come back to a picture, you really ought to work yourself into it a bit. Unless you really know what you want to do next. A little bit of fiddling about sometimes helps. There's a a line of white there, which I quite like. This one here is distracting me a bit, so I'm going to I don't want it to be quite so strongly different. Just take the edge off the white if I can. Got a bit excited. Well, that's where I took it out, wasn't it? It was growing. One of the things that happens when you're painting, you find it grows. And yes, this is hog's hair, which is the usual thing to use to paint in oils or acrylics. Although acrylics, they do seem to have soft brushes for acrylics these days, which is not, it's not a sin. I just wouldn't waste your good sables on oil paints. Brushes don't last with oil paints because you've got a canvas with texture on it here, and the brushes wear down. I think I've showed you that one and that one were the same size at one stage. They're not far off now, but you can see one is lower than the other. So I don't want to take that too far down. I think it's a good thing. Now then, if I use this to organize the shape of those little rocks here. There's one there, there's one there. There's that deep blue here. I need to make it a bit dark around the front here. So that rock has a chance to stand out a bit more than it is. And it's a bit more dramatic there. I don't know what I'm going to do here. Really don't. Into the picture. What will happen around here? We'll just carry on with this for a bit, cover it with something. If I don't get to do it while you're here, I'll do it at home. Right, now, so I want to look at these reedy bits over here. Not sure what's happening there. Right, I'm going to use a thin brush for this, but I want to get thin shapes. So I am, in fact, using a synthetic rigger here, because I'm going to be putting in these greenery stuff, if I can manage it. You'll notice that Oil painting tends to be gestural. I'm using my arm. I'm not doing this. I do that sometimes, but not a lot. We put temptation is to go bing, 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 bing to make the grass, but grass doesn't grow like that. Just to see if this is going to work, really. That's a bit kinder, isn't it? I mean, it's not saying anything at the moment. I'm just putting the colour in to suggest where it might go. Do I need to put more in there? Maybe, okay. So if there's a battle here between getting a good dark colour to put the things in with. It's diluted with the, well, you use water with acrylic. You want it to trip off the brush. If it's sticking to the brush, you're not going to get a nice thin line. On the other hand, if it's too soupy, it gets too pale. And if it's pale, it's not working. So, yeah, it's you find your own salvation. Color. Until, normally, once I get really fired up, I just stick with the one brush and do everything with the one brush. But if I'm still feeling my way, I tend to look for the brushes right for what I want it to do, And shadows are here. This is in shadow. So that could be really dark there. I don't know why that bit's light. I've got it light in the picture for some reason. Maybe the light's overhead or something. I promised myself I'd make them darker. Which, so. I want a bit of contrast now, so I've gone to the what do I think? Raw sienna. Remember, if you want to make it pale, you start with the light color, white, and you add the color to it. You get the right. Now then, let's have a look at those rocks and see if I can do something about them. There's one here, and this side is in darkness. That's dark. And then you make the light catch them. The light is catching the top of the rock. Yeah, no, it's white with a bit of dirty paint in it. Now then, I had a blue brush, didn't I? I take that. That's there. What is going to happen there? I just want it to be a non-event, really. So if I put that on first, and then, get the other brush. I'm about to mess that one up. And put some you're making it up as you go along, actually. I think I probably That's not going to work. Sorry. I'll try to put a little ripple there. See if that helps. Don't want it right there. It's too thick. It's no good. Okay, take it out with that. Oh, there we are. Better. The thing about ripples is you have a very, very tiny little shadow underneath them. I don't know if I can do this. Sometimes if you make the paint thick enough, you can get, you can get the shadow of the paint itself to throw a little shadow for you, which is lovely. This is going to be too not being thin enough. There we are. Two hairs and some air, didn't you used to say? Yes, the vague idea is there, perhaps. And then we can put in pebbles around here. Light fingers. You can make all of them different. It does. Just want to break it up so that it's not a mass of one color, you know? You go too far and you have to do something. Right, I'm getting there slowly. Not sure about the blue shadow. I think that shadow could be a lot darker. That shadow under there. I used blue to make it, but I think if I add the brown to it, it will be truer. It should cast a shadow, shouldn't it? Shouldn't it? The light's definitely coming this way, so it should cast a shadow. Let's make it cast a shadow. I'm going to intensify that dark. Oh, it's got a bit more zing to it, hasn't it? Maybe we can intensify some of these shadows too. at this stage, it's very much a question of looking and deciding if there's anything that needs to be done. Do that little bit, and then you stop and you look at it for another half hour before you brush the canvas again. I think that's believable. Right, let's look at this grass again because it's pretty pathetic at the moment. How are we doing for time, Rachel? Right, okay, so 10 minutes of grass maybe, unless I get fed up. Right, so I've gone for a mixture of Viridian and burnt sienna. So that should give me a real dark. It's refusing to play. It's so got so much brown in it. It is in fact brown. Right, right. It needs a bit of light there, doesn't it? So because I'm lightening a green, I tend to go to yellow to lighten a green. All that's given me is not very pretty. No, I don't like that. So if we go back to the sap green, which is a yellowy green anyway, I'll add a bit of yellow to that. Yellow. Oh, a bit more sap green. And green. Right, so I'm going to add a little bit of white to that. And it's going to be decidedly difficult, this. I suppose I like that. Definitely not. Well, there's one thing you can always do if you're repainting and it's dry underneath, take it out. Start again. But I'm obviously not going to finish in time for today, so. Yes, yes, you can certainly do this. Right. Let's start with that green. Add a bit of brown. I definitely want it dark there. I think it got a bit carried away. It did what that is. That was going that way. This is going that way. We don't want that. So it may be that I'll bring the water further down this side. That will help to make that look a bit brighter. I did keep the blue brush, didn't I? I kept some of the blue paint too. So if we get rid of that. Obviously, that's got too excited up there. It's going to have to tail off a bit. But it does give me a chance to make that a little bit darker there. And that throws up that bit much better. Yeah. It was climbing up, wasn't it? It was climbing towards the sky there. Yes, and then unbalanced. I may dim that down a bit when I complete this edge, but I think this is a bit more complete than it was. What color is that? That's blue. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to say anything, you know, just put the color somewhere. Somewhere else. I think I better stop. So that you can see what I have to do now. I've got to do something about that, definitely. And then take a view as to whether that is sufficient balance for that, or do I need to mute that a little bit so that that is the focus.